That instinctual urge to tap your temple or check your connection is exactly what we're diagnosing today. You are likely experiencing a massive processing latency spike in your neural hardware. The modern media landscape is defined by wall-to-sound production. Every available frequency, from the sub-bass rattling your jaw to the highest treble, is occupied. This standard forces creators to pack every millisecond of a stream with data to maximize engagement, operating on the assumption that a quiet moment is an invitation to swipe away. This constant auditory bombardment leads to a 40% drop in cognitive efficiency for the average user. You don't get a warning light in your peripheral vision when your brain lags. You experience it as a dull, pervasive ache or a baseline exhaustion that makes it impossible to focus on a single thought. This latency functions as a biological tax. It turns everyday media consumption into a literal DDoS attack on the brain, where the sheer volume of incoming data overrides your natural processing speed. This state is known as synaptic crowding. When the auditory cortex is forced to decode dozens of overlapping frequencies and microrhythms with zero decay time, the neural pathways back up. You are looking at a sensory bottleneck. Your brain expends immense caloric energy just to keep up, burning glucose to separate a synth pad from a vocal chop. This is why you feel profoundly drained after navigating the modern auditory landscape. Your processing centers are struggling to sort the noise. The industry's habit of patching every quiet gap with a riser or a sweep destroys the architecture of human perception. To solve this, the Solune research project argues for an arrangement that is 90% void, absolute silence used as a strict biological intervention. To make a void feel safe rather than broken, Solune looked to the oldest musical form known to humanity, the lullaby. Lullabies share a universal phrase-pause-phrase structure. Historically, this pause was utilitarian. A caregiver sang a phrase and then stayed silent to listen for the child's breathing. Over thousands of years, this silence became a biological signal that the caregiver was still there, watching and listening. Solune uses non-human intelligence to recreate this sense of protection, but they don't use AI to generate finished tracks. Instead, the AI functions as a generative instrument, calculating thousands of mathematical permutations of a melody to provide a raw block of marble. The human creator acts as the sculptor, holding the chisel. They take that mathematically perfect material and delete notes to create empty space. Since a machine cannot feel cognitive fatigue or the relief of a descending melody, human intervention is required to enforce the biological necessity of the pause. The human ensures the listener has room to take a physical breath. This engineering relies on the 12-millisecond buffer. Human auditory resolution can distinguish sounds just 2 milliseconds apart, but under modern digital stress, the brain needs exactly 12 milliseconds to package and process a sensory data point without dropping packets. Solune ensures every sound has this absolute clearance. They also tune every instrument down to 431 Hz, while the industry standard of 440 Hz keeps the nervous system in a state of hypervigilance. 431 Hz resonates with the vagus nerve, stimulating the parasympathetic nervous system to lower your heart rate and prepare the body for rest. Even with these physiological shifts, a massive void can still trigger a broken Wi-Fi panic in a modern listener. We are conditioned to treat digital zero as a technological failure. To prevent this, Solune utilizes gestalt closure. When a familiar pattern, like a lullaby phrase, is abruptly removed, the brain refuses to leave the pattern unresolved. It actively renders the missing acoustic information internally. They also layer bioacoustic room tones beneath the music, microscopic recordings of air moving inside specific spaces, like this wooden church. These subtle environmental cues prove to your brain that the connection isn't broken. The environment is still there, even when the players are silent. By combining physiological tuning with gestalt closure, the brain shifts from passive consumption to active flow. You aren't just processing a stream, your brain is playing the song for itself. The final roadblock is the digital infrastructure itself. Streaming platforms utilize LUFS normalization to enforce uniform loudness across all media. When an algorithm sees a mostly quiet track, it applies extreme makeup gain. It aggressively boosts the quiet parts, turning those subtle room tones into a hissing wall of noise that ruins the void. Solune bypasses this by hiding massive amounts of phase-inverted acoustic energy in the stereo margins. They take a dense wall of noise, duplicate it, and flip the waveform perfectly upside down. When these inverse waves play simultaneously, they cancel each other out, leaving only absolute silence for the human ear. Streaming compression algorithms calculate track loudness by mathematically summing the total data energy across all channels. The algorithm sees this massive data energy in the margins, reads the track as reaching maximum volume, and leaves the file untouched. This spatial hack creates a Trojan horse. It feeds the algorithm the data it craves so that the machine leaves the delicate human experience of silence intact. This methodology scales into full symphonies. In the piece Emerald Breath, the listener is submerged in bioacoustic room tone for minutes at a time. This acts as a sensory deprivation tank, resensitizing the overloaded brain so that a single acoustic pluck is processed with crystalline clarity. The Tao Symphony utilizes open sonic horizons instead of traditional resolutions. Movements end with a single note decaying endlessly until it dips below the threshold of human hearing, forcing the listener to internally carry the momentum of the music through the gaps. Solune even applies this to their release schedule. Instead of feeding the daily content beast to satisfy an algorithm, they integrate weeks-long blackouts between releases. This structured dopamine deprivation resets reward pathways. The data shows that during these blackouts, listener memory associations with the art actually grow stronger. Depth outmaneuvers shallow volume. We have been conditioned to treat empty spaces in our lives like a broken Wi-Fi connection. If a meeting is canceled or a conversation pauses, we immediately reach for a screen to patch the gap. We treat silence as an error state that must be corrected. But Solune's research proves that you synthesize who you are and what you genuinely want in the moments where absolutely nothing is happening. Meaning is constructed in the void. Silence is the true habitable zone for humanity.